Hey folks, how's it going? Pete Mulroy here, Notre Dame Daily. We get closer and closer to game 2 of the season. Irish number 8, Texas A&M 16. And as discussed yesterday, the Irish depth chart for this weekend's home opener against Texas A&M remains the same from the opener in South Beach. That, of course, includes the Irish front 5 with a bit of an asterisk. I'll get to that in a moment. Anthony Knapp, who left the Miami game with cramping and was replaced by sophomore Styles Prescott, good to go. So that's good news. And while we have that piece in there, the Irish are still waiting for the return, right, of Charles Jagasaw, who will improve the depth, presence, and performance, we would think, up front. Marcus Freeman also indicated this week that while the same faces will be on the field for the Irish, both Gerby Lambert and Sullivan Absher, listed as slash starters this weekend, will see action against the Aggies, though it remains to be seen who opens the game as the starting right guard. Obviously, it goes without saying, things did not go well for the Irish front 5 for much of the Miami game, particularly on the final drive, where they looked like just an out-of-sync, complete disarray dumpster fire. That's got to change this week against a formidable defense in Mike Elko's Aggies bunch. I mean, they're going to bring it, and they have some talent. So you know the offensive line, as it would be in every game, but specifically games of this magnitude, is going to be essential. Working left to right between Anthony Knapp, Shrouth, Craig, Lambert, or Absher at right guard, and then Emil Wagner, who at right tackle, who, let's be fair, had his struggles against the Hurricane. Joe Rudolph's group is going to need to be on point in this one. For the Irish, instilling confidence in both the run and passing games is going to primarily come from an offensive line that was viewed as one of the nation's best entering the season. Now, are we saying that's not the case? No, that would be absurd after just one game. But the performance against the now number 5 ranked Hurricanes was alarming, and that group simply needs to be better. If there are serious inconsistencies once again, then we could probably start having conversations about perhaps seeing more Prescott, the insertion of freshman Will Black. Does Anthony Knapp get kicked to the inside? And then preparing for the return of Jagasaw, who can, of course, play on the outside and the interior. Paving the way for Love and Price to do their thing is huge. Offensive line can obviously help that. Opening up the passing game is massive as well, and protecting the quarterback is beyond essential. Better offensive line play may also give offensive coordinator, and I don't think this should be dismissed, Mike Denbrock, more confidence as it pertains to taking more aggressive shots. Was the play calling against Miami great? I'm not saying that. No, it was not. But as I said shortly after, when we came back on the air the next week after the Miami game, a good chunk of the reason for that was probably the idea that Denbrock simply didn't trust the offensive line. And that makes sense. If those thoughts creep in here against an A&M group that from top to bottom, they are physical, they do have speed, but just watch their first 2 games of the regular season. To me, what stood out were the linebackers. And if you don't have confidence in your offensive line, the run game and the pass game are both going to suffer. And we saw that against Miami. Now, Notre Dame battled. And you would think, for all the things we said about that Miami game, if you didn't watch it and looked at the box score, Notre Dame lost by 40. Wasn't the case. They battled. They played very well in areas, which is why I'm super excited to see what happens week 2 with the progression across the board and some of the changes Coach Freeman, Coach Ass, Coach Denbrock are going to make moving forward. Coach Rudolph as well. But you're going up against a Texas A&M defense here that has legitimate linebacker play. And the idea that this Notre Dame offensive line can play the way that we know and expect them to play is going to have a big impact on what lies ahead. For A&M purposes, and that's from a schedule perspective, folks, and boom, right out of the gates, Miami now getting ready for Texas A&M, not easy. For A&M purposes, their linebacking core, their second level guys are really talented, and they have good guys coming off the edge as well. I'm a big fan of Scooby Williams. 95 total tackles the past 2 seasons, 50 of those solo, 4 passes defense, a couple of sacks, fumble recoveries. The Irish are going to need to know where number 0 is on the field at all times. There's another layer to that. Add in the steady early season presence and performance of fellow linebacker Torian York, edge rushers TJ Searcy, Sam Mpemba, and you've got a formidable second level. Now, we know the Irish have weaponry all over the field to counteract the aggressive and athletic abilities of Elko's defense. That goes without saying. And I think we saw a really good glimpse of that in the fourth quarter when the Irish put up 17 points and they looked like they were rolling. They were getting back in sync. But again, coming off a game where the offensive line did the opposite of instilling confidence. Identifying where these guys are on the field is going to be crucial as it pertains to winning the game. You're going to have to be aware of where these playmakers for the A&M defense are at all times. You always are in any game, I'm not saying that, but this is a different level of talent. You got an SEC program coming in Texas A&M. You handled them last year at their place. You're going to see a lot of the same guys, got to know where they are, and offensively, it's going to start up front with that wall of five. This is an A&M group coming off a 44-22 win over Utah State, and a game in which the Aggies picked up 5 sacks, 3 alone from Howell. So you know the A&M defense is going to want to put pressure on Notre Dame's offensive line, get into the backfield, and see if they can disrupt C.J. Carr. As good as Williams is, another guy I have circled is Howell. Kid's got 16 and a half sacks across the past 2+ seasons, leaking into the first 2 games here with A&M, and he's a former transfer from Bowling Green. So those are the 2 guys between Howell and Scooby Williams that I'm absolutely going to want to disrupt as much as possible. You know it, and Marcus Freeman said it about Carson Beck 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we have to do a great job at containing him. He's going to make plays because he's a great quarterback. These 2 here are playmakers. They're going to get theirs, but if you can limit them, if you can limit their effectiveness by having that strong offensive line that we all thought we were going to see out of the gates doing their job, and you get some protection and support from your tight ends and your running back in the blocking department and your running backs as well. I'm not saying that. We know that moving forward, Jadarian Price, Jay Love, Eli Raridan can all make a difference in that department. It changes the landscape of things for Notre Dame. So overall, I do expect the Irish to make these adjustments needed to vault them into the win column for the first time this season. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a physical game. And I think the folks that are going into the stadium are expecting that as well. It's going to be raucous. The electricity in the building is going to be palpable. For the home opener against Texas A&M, this is the first time the Irish faithful are going to see them since last year, not counting the blue-gold game in April. So you want to see complete bedlam under the lights for the opener Saturday night. Anything else is going to be utterly disappointing. It's an incredible opportunity. Win the battles up front, get positive momentum early, and ride the waves throughout the game. A quick, confident start for the Irish is crucial. Getting the crowd into the game and keeping it there will be as well. It'll be great support. We got plenty of time to talk about this one. Couple days left. Have a great rest of yours. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. And as always, thanks for joining me, number one, and go Irish.